Hello everyone and welcome back to Amity Bloom. My name is Nazi and today's video is going to be all about using your scraps to create tags. Today I went to the thrift store and it was this little piece that actually inspired me to create some tags, as it's the perfect size to create different size tags and always have them on there on my desk, and little ephemera pieces that I can reach for really easily when I'm journaling or I'm trying to create a project. So today I'm going to be making some tags for myself to put into my personal scrap journal. I have an example of some of the tags that I have already made before, and my method with tag making is just using your scraps. I never use new paper. I always use little pieces, as that's what tends to inspire me the most when I'm creating tags. I like the challenge of having little pieces of paper that I can coordinate them in different ways. It's kind of like finishing a puzzle and that satisfaction that you get when you're done with your puzzle and you see it all laid out. So this is the type of tag that I usually make. It's essentially just a template, and then I collage smaller pieces of paper, some stickers, and some script on top. So this is an example of the tags that I've made previously, and the first thing that I like to do is collect tags of different sizes. These are templates. This is what we're going to be using to create the collaged tags. And because of the different sizes, you'll be able to peek at this tag that's behind the previous one. So these are the templates that I'm going to be using, and these are just some project life cards that I pulled out from my drawer, and I'm just going to add them to my stack of papers. And I also have some washi tape in front of me. Now these are just some of the washi's that I have on my desk right now. I alternate them as I get different ones in. And then I have a plate of more paper goodies and apparently some flowers. But I am very excited to see what I end up creating with all of these little scraps and these forgotten pieces of paper that are on my desk. So I'm really excited to see the tags that we end up creating with only the pieces of paper that are on our desk and those that are left over from bigger projects. The first thing that I like to do is grab some cardstock. This can be recycled cardstock. For example, this is some scrapbook paper that I didn't really like, and usually this would just end up in the trash, but today I'm going to recycle it and I'm going to use it as my base to collage my papers on top of. So use what you have on your desk. Recycle those thick cardstock pieces. You can even recycle packaging. Whatever you have that has a nice sturdy consistency. So I'm going to take this paper and trim it to the sizes that I want my tags to be. So this is all of my cardstock once it has been trimmed down to the size that I want my tags to be. And all we have to do is collage on the side that we don't like, and then we have the back for journaling. So I created different sizes. Some are slightly wider, and I didn't measure as I like them to be irregular. And I like how all of them put together complement a page, especially when you have different sizes to choose from. And then this one's going to be so cute. It's going to be a tiny little tag. So these are my papers that I'm going to be using for the base of my tags. I'm going to be putting these aside while I match them up with a template. So you're going to want a template and some paper clips. Use tags from ephemera pieces. Use tags from packaging. I just love using the pieces that I already have to inspire me. And all you want to do is add your template on top of your cardstock base, add a paper clip, normally at the bottom, and then I like to take my scissors and then just cut around it. Take the paper clip off, and you have your tag base all ready to go. Now, if your template is slightly smaller than your cardstock base, like for this one for instance, let's say I just want to have the finishing on the top. All you have to do is take the edges on top and match them with the side and the top portion of your cardstock base, and then just paper clip the bottom so that it doesn't move, and then take your scissors and just trim off that little corner. You then want to repeat and do the same thing on the other side. Just slide it down, or slide it over, I should say, and then take your scissors and snip the corner. And this way you only cut the sides or the top portion of your tag, and you didn't compromise the overall size of your tag base. So you'll notice that as long as you have something to use as a template, creating tags is super easy and super fun to do. And I'm just going to continue to do this with all of my tags so that they're all prepped and ready to go before I start collaging on top of them. And this is how this tag ended up looking like. So I'm going to continue to do this to all of my cardstock bases, and then when I'm finished I will come back to show you how to collage your scrap papers on top of your cardstock to create beautiful tags that you can use in your journals or as gifts and happy mail. So I just finished cutting all of my cardstock bases using my templates, and you'll notice all of them have different sizes to them, or the tops are finished off with a different edge. It's now time to have fun, and it's time to collage your papers together. This is the part where you can use all of the papers that are on your desk and glue them on top of your base. So I'm going to go through my paper and I'm going to start gluing the bigger pieces on the bigger parts of my bases. So for example, this book page, I always start with the biggest pieces and I glue them on the back. And then I grab my little pieces and I start collaging on top of that. I start out with bigger pieces and then I make my way into smaller pieces. And that's pretty much the method that I use to create my collage tags. So let's see what I end up making with my little scraps and pieces left over from other projects. Choosing your paper base for your collage tags is so much fun, as this kind of lays the blueprint for the rest of the papers and how they're going to collage on top of your base. I suggest using an eclectic mix of papers, and if you're looking for a special paper pack of scraps and collaged paper pieces, I created a few more sets of the papers that I had left over from my paper bloom packs. They're in the shop right now. They're more of a random assortment, as some of the papers are not exactly the same, but if you really like having a different mix of papers to choose from, I hope you check out these packs if you haven't already. So moving on, you'll notice that I'm using different colored papers, and usually I would stick to one color palette, but because I want to add variety to my personal journal, I want to choose different bases, so vintage wallpapers, ledgers, scrapbook paper. This will help me in using more of my scraps. If I just use white paper, then I will only stick to scraps that coordinate with the white pages. But since I used this purple paper, I was able to use my antique wallpaper, some music paper that was more of a vintage darker tone, and you'll notice as we go through all of the tags, some of them are slightly darker, some are more on the pastel side, and you'll notice that with this tag I tend to color match to coordinate with the vintage wallpaper, the purples, the blues, and a little hint of red. And I have my 3 colors that I've chosen for this tag. And moving on to the next one, I'm using that pink craft paper base and then coordinating it with this beautiful antique wallpaper. I'm pulling in the pinks from the florals, and I'm going to tie in that bit of green at the bottom, slightly lighter green to give it more of a pastel feel, and finishing it off with a little tiny strip of music paper. This is where I tell you, do not throw your scraps if they're precious papers that you adore. Save them and treasure them. Keep them in a nice little box or compartment so that when you're creating your collages or your tags, the smallest little strip sometimes adds and changes your whole entire tag and design. So I'm going to continue collaging and layering all of my vintage pieces with antique papers and some more modern decorative papers as well. For this tag, I wanted to give myself some journaling space, so I decided to compromise and divide that tag in two, so you'll have part of it decorative and then the other part functional, so that I can go and journal on top of the white paper. So you can decide when you're collaging your tags if you want to have them just be aesthetically beautiful or if you want them to be functional. I like to do both when I'm creating my collage tags, as I like variety, and sometimes I like to have a tag where I can just look at it and feel happy and cozy inside because it's so pretty. But sometimes I do like to have a tag that I can journal on and use alongside my journaling in my personal journal. For the hole reinforcers, I actually have plain ones that you can pick up at your local office supply store. I usually just take my distress ink and I distress them with the colors that I need. Or you can also purchase hole reinforcers, and these were from Hobby Lobby, and I believe I purchased them about 2 to 3 years ago, so I'm not sure if they're even still being sold. But I really liked them because they're different types of collage papers, and I can choose which ones go better with the colors. So I know for sure I want to add a hole reinforcer to this one since there's lots of empty space up at the top. And I'm going to go along with this really pretty berry reinforcer with some script. I add that there and then I take my hole punch. Once my hole reinforcer has been added, I then take my punch and I punch out the hole right in the center. And my tag is ready to be used in my journal. Now for this tag, I actually want to distress my own hole reinforcer. And all I do is I take a piece of scrap paper, I add my hole reinforcers, I take the distress ink that I want to use. This one is Tim Holtz Vintage Photo. And then I take my little blendy tool. Now you can use a sponge, you can use this tool that comes with the distress inks. I'm actually using these cute little makeup brushes that I bought from, I believe it was TJ Maxx, and they never really worked well. I never got used to them, and I thought that they'd be really cool as a little blending tool, and I like the little handle. So you can really use anything to blend, just whatever you have. Now I'm going to take my distressed hole reinforcer and I'm going to add it right up at the top. And that's how I like to finish my tags up. So you can go ahead and do this to all of your tags, or you can leave them by their own. Like for instance, this one, I love how this looks. I think it looks very French. I don't want to add anything up at the top. I might hole punch a little hole up at the top, but that's it. So you don't need to add a reinforcer to all of your tags. This one, for instance, I don't think I'm going to add one as I love the ledger. This one I don't want to disrupt that really pretty design. I love this one. This is one of my favorites. This one will have a design one. So here are all of my finished tags, and they are ready to be stored and to be used in my journal or for Happy Mail. I want to show you really quickly how they look like when you put them in a journal. So let me just show you how they look like in your actual journal. Now, of course, everyone's journal is different, but I want to show you how beautiful your tags can look like in your pages. They add such a nice eclectic feel to your pages. I love creating my own tags from my papers that are left over from projects. Not only are they more special because you're using papers that are meaningful for you, but they just make any page come to life. And they're so fun and so cute. They are so much fun to make, and they're even more fun to play around with and to choose which ones go on which pages. So I really hope that you guys enjoyed taking a peek into how I create my own collaged tags using my papers. Whenever you have time, just take out your scrap box and create tags. You'll be surprised with how many you will end up with and how beautiful they will look like on your desk and how easy it will be to choose from all of your tags when you are journaling. Let me know below which one of these tags was your favorite. I would love to know which one tickled your heartstrings the most. And until next time, I hope that you have an incredible day full of peace and love. Bye-bye! and have